Consumers aren't just noticing the increase in price at the pump, they also are seeing an increase and having to budget for energy costs at home. Heading into the summer, is it climate change that's causing rates to increase? Or is it maybe some state policies enacted at the state level? Well, joining us to discuss how this is playing out in Pennsylvania is the Center Square Regional Editor, Christen Smith. Christen, thanks for taking time with us. Your latest story delves into a report that highlights carbon taxes costing Pennsylvania $5 billion. What's going on here?
So carbon taxes are a thorn in the side of Pennsylvania for the last 6 years. And we actually officially put them to bed through the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative back in November. So one might be thinking, if we didn't enact them, how did we lose $5 billion? Well, that loss came through 6 years of uncertainty. There's a new report out from the Commonwealth Foundation that says our quote unquote flirting with that program, since former Governor Tom Wolf tried to put us in there 6 years ago, that cost us $5 billion in investment. Now, what does that mean for taxpayers? What that means is that plants, natural gas plants, and other fossil fuels that could have operated longer or could have upgraded or could have been built, they were unable to proceed. And so then prices were impacted by that sort of thing. Now, what was helpful is that natural gas prices had fallen during this time period. But as we all know, volatility in the energy market has been really enhanced as of late. And so that combination of less development and unstable prices, even boosted by the fact that Pennsylvania is really the anchor for the regional power grid. Our fossil fuel reserves really help keep those prices stable. And so once we let go of that, to that certainty to an extent, let's say, the other states around us that are really focused on boosting renewable energy resources, us as that strong backbone becomes flimsier for them. And then that results in price instability all over the grid.
Talk a little bit about the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, what exactly it does, how it operates, where's the money being exchanged, and for what?
So this has been an agreement between a number of states, 12-ish states right now, 11 or 12, and that's across Mid-Atlantic and New England. And their whole goal is to reduce carbon emissions down to zero, essentially, by 2040. And the way that they're going to do that is they're all going to make their power generators in their states auction or bid on credits so that it would cover the pollution that they create year in and year out. And the idea is there's fewer and fewer credits every single year. So essentially, generators are either forced offline or forced into improving their system or their plants so that they're not as emissions intensive as they've been in the past. But as those credits have shrunk, the price has also gone way up. Now that results in a lot of money, financial windfall to Reggie states. They turn around and sometimes use that to help residents keep their bills lower, but they also reinvest into renewable energy projects. So it has a lot of uses to help also encourage the renewable energy development that could take the place of fossil fuels that are being pushed out of the market. The problem is that technology has not been able to knock down that bridge, let's just say. And there is concern that prioritizing the development, as programs like Reggie have done, is forcing us to a renewable energy future that we are not ready for. And that is falling back on taxpayers to cover through their bills.
You know, reading through your story, I saw a familiar theme that I've seen here in Illinois, and that is the governor criticizing a energy grid network, PJM in particular, when it comes to, as Governor J.B. Pritzker in Illinois puts it, plug in renewable energy that is being created across the state. What's Josh Shapiro have to say about these energy grid networks?
So Josh Shapiro and J.B. Pritzker are aligned a lot on a lot of their views of PJM. And in fact, they have threatened in the past, or correct me if I'm wrong, but Shapiro has certainly threatened in recent months to leave PJM and go it alone. The idea here is that he is unhappy with the way that PJM has essentially plugged in all of these energy projects. What's important to understand is that PJM is not making the rules necessarily when it comes to how many renewable energy projects must be plugged into the grid, that is largely influenced by the state policies that are happening all around them. And we're talking about states from Washington, D.C. and Virginia all the way out to Illinois. So that is a huge different group of policies that they're having to combine into how to keep this grid running, how to keep it sustainable, how to bring it into the future while still appeasing the state laws that are enacted on top of it. So Shapiro is really frustrated by this process. He thinks that states should have more say. He's involved himself in federal regulatory complaints to put more pressure on PJM to change the way that they manage the markets so that it'll add temporary price caps that help consumers in the short term, but critics say could raise prices in the long term, of course. And so he's been a louder and louder critic of PJM. What makes his criticism more significant, I hesitate to say, but quite significant, is the fact that it's Pennsylvania. And if Pennsylvania were to leave and go it alone, it would be an unprecedented decision. It's unclear how that would impact the rest of the grid, how that would impact pricing. And to be clear, Josh Shapiro has never been straightforward, at least with the center square, on how that would work as far as our pricing and as far as the impact downstream on ratepayers.
And you also got to consider the availability of generators and how many are being brought online, not just those who are solar or wind, but even natural gas. Pennsylvania is a very state with a very prominent natural gas sector. But some of the information from your story is fascinating. 73% of power projects in Pennsylvania became operational for 5 years between 2013 and 2018. But after Reggie, only 9%? Meanwhile, Ohio, who's not part of Reggie, they didn't have nearly the decline in power projects coming online.
The Commonwealth Foundation's report really loves to compare Ohio and Pennsylvania. In part, I think it's a cheeky reference to Shapiro's longstanding rhetoric that we need to stop losing to quote unquote friggin' Ohio. And the energy sector is really a very strong example of this. Ohio never indicated that it would join Reggie. And they are similar to Pennsylvania in a lot of ways in the sense that they do have a lot of fossil fuels of their own. It's not nearly the amount that Pennsylvania has, but they do play a significant role in helping to keep our prices low in PJM. And so natural gas developers saw that commitment or that stability in their industry. And so power projects there that involve natural gas did not collapse and evaporate from the list of projects to be developed in nearly the same way as those statistics show that happened in Pennsylvania. Now, the Commonwealth Foundation's report does indicate that natural gas prices did go down. So that explains some of the reduction in the conversion rate from project to actual operational plant, but that the main difference they contend was Reggie versus non-Reggie.
Well, obviously, as we're talking about energy policy, a lot of it emanating from state houses like in Pennsylvania and across the country, but Pennsylvania legislators set to come back just for 3 days in the month of May. Are they going to be able to put a budget together?
Conventional wisdom and historical precedent as of late says no. Our full-time legislature is, like you said, only coming for 3 days in May. That's because they're going to spend the majority of time in their districts focusing on primary elections. And really where we are at is the same place we were at all the way back in February and March when Governor Shapiro first introduced his budget plan for $53.3 billion. Republicans hate it, mostly because they say we're missing $5 billion that it's needed to cover it. Also, he wants to do things that are non-starters for them, like raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, for example. And so as far as what is on their calendar this week that even touch that issue, there really is nothing now. It's early in the week, and these things change minute by minute in their calendar. An hour before they're ready to vote on something, it can disappear from the calendar entirely. In fact, we've run into that reporting and it's been difficult to overcome, let's just say. So it's not entirely clear, but at least from the outset, from where we sit on Monday afternoon, they don't seem to be making a lot of progress towards that.
Christen, what's the makeup of the legislature? Is it all Democrats with majorities, or are the chambers split? How does that impact what you could see in some certainty for how tax dollars are going to be spent?
Well, Pennsylvania's in a really tense situation when it comes to that subject. Governor Josh Shapiro is a Democrat, obviously, and Democrats have a one-seat majority in the state house. And this is a newer phenomenon for them. They've been in the minority in the state house for more than a decade. But back in 2023, they took over by one, and they've held on with a vice grip to that one-seat majority. Now, the Senate still has about 4 seats in Republican control, although that number has been shrinking since 2023. They had as many as 6 seats only 2 years ago, and now they're down to just the 4-seat margin. So there is a real strong concern from their party that they will continue to lose ground in the Senate, in which case that would give Governor Shapiro and Democrats pretty much the freedom to do whatever they wanted. We're not there yet, but those dynamics are going to play heavily into this budget season, and why there's going to be even more fighting and a lot of sticking to their ideological grounds, because Shapiro's running for governor. There's all of these senators and House of Representative members who are running to keep their seats, and they're all very likely to dig in their heels on where they stand on their policies. And considering the budget is our most contentious time of year, that's when you see movement on these really divisive issues, like raising the minimum wage, like how much do we spend on education, and does that involve school choice? Should we save more money in our rainy day fund? These are things that time and time again they fight over, but when the shadow of an election hangs over them, things tend to get particularly testy.
We'll definitely be encouraging people to stay up to date with you and your team's reporting on Pennsylvania and beyond at thecentersquare.com. Christen Smith, regional editor. Greatly appreciate her taking the time.